So please welcome back Fariborz Kamkari, the film's director, and the film's producer, Adriana Di Palma. Thank you both again for joining us and for the film. Let me start with just a few questions before we open it up to the audience. Adriana, maybe you could start and tell us how this project came about.
Well, how this project came about, it was I had organized an exhibition for Carlo, which then didn't happen in Spain, and so I had started my work on the archive, and then it was just natural that we came up with thinking of having a documentary for Carlo.
And Fariborz, how did you said in an introduction that you knew Carlo through his work, so can you talk a bit about that?
Yes,
and how you
I always followed, I discovered I'm Iranian, I'm Kurdish. I grew up during the war in Iran, so I'm a child of war in some sort. I discovered cinema through Italian cinema, Italian neorealism, and I immediately discovered Carlo Di Palma's work when I was very young.
Was there one film in particular?
Blois was the film that captured me a lot. And I tried to find, it was very difficult because there was a black market and it was impossible to find uncensored films in Iran. But I tried to find them, and I was really in love with his work. And I always thought, how comes one person can participate in so many masterpieces? What's the formula? What's the secret? So when Adriana asked me to direct this film, and I saw the materials, I saw the Carlo's interview, I thought it can be the right occasion to talk about this formula, this secret. What's the secret? And as you see in the film, the great humanity for me was the answer. So we worked on that, and as I told you before, we spent 5 years working on this project. We spent only 1 year to edit it because it was very difficult to find the right formula, the balance, how much film must be personal about his personal life, and how much it will be professional and technical. So we edit and re-edit it. We three times we started from the beginning because I couldn't find the right position to make a balance.
Yeah. Could you maybe talk a little bit more about that? Because I think any sort of biographical film sort of has to deal with the balance between the life story and the body of work.
It's not enough to know the great artist when he born, the dates and the details about his life. I think we see his works, and that's enough. But it's important to go beyond that and speak about what has left from Carlo's school of photography. And as we see in the film, his school, his heritage, his school of photography is to not having in a school, to have not a certain style, because he changed his style. And something that amazed me a lot when I was a film student, this change of techniques, this change of style, this change of filming and lighting, that was amazing. And I didn't know how it comes, how it's possible that from one film to another, he changes completely his style of photography.
I think there are sort of three sort of distinct elements to the film: the archival material, and then the interviews, and then the film clips. And I think with each one, it's clear how hard you worked on them.
Exactly. Yes.
And I'd love to hear you maybe both talk a little bit about those three elements and putting them together. I was struck by just the abundance of archival material and how much of Carlo is in the film. And in some ways, he's the most. I think he's the most eloquent person in the film. It's really wonderful to hear him talk about his work. I mean,
yes.
Does there a lot of that exists, the interviews through the years?
And Adriana, they made a great job to following and finding all those interviews, because there were many. They were old. It was very difficult to find them. I think she has a
the first thing
story.
that I found out when I started working on the archive of Carlo is that Carlo always spoke to me that he had made about 25 films. And then every day, I had a person who was working at the film school, Centro Sperimentale, And they kept on calling me, no, he has made 40, he has made 50, and we arrived at 100. So this is the first discovery that I made about Carlo's work, because he was just mentioning a certain number of films. So it was very difficult anyway to recuperate all his material, because Carlo never kept anything at all. He just threw away everything. He said, it's there on the screen. And so I had a lot of work recuperating the material, but I had a great help, especially in Germany, with his ex-pupils, who actually called each other, and they found this long interview that runs right through the film that was done by the students in Berlin, where he gave a lesson, various lessons, at the Academy of Arts. And so I had a great help from just people who were volunteering in and trying to find the material. And then it was a long, long work in getting the material together, and they were generated from various sources, supports, VHS, digibeta. So it was a long, long work of post-production. Enormous, and then getting the rights to everything.
This is the most difficult thing when you make a documentary about cinema.
And I want to take the opportunity of saying hello to Brian Hamill, who's here tonight. He really gave us a lot of help with his stills, the stills of Woody's sets.
Can you talk about the film clips? I mean, obviously, as you say, 100 films to his credit, some better known than others. I think his work is incredibly well represented in the film, and I think a lot of that has to do with the selection of the scenes. Could you talk about that?
That was really difficult. It was asked a lot of sacrifice, because Carlo has made many other masterpieces that we don't see in this documentary. With Mario Monicelli, for example, he made some fantastic films. And we had clips, because Adriana had made a great job to obtain all the rights. But unfortunately, we had the difficult choice was how to keep the running time of the film under 90 minutes, and talk about all these films. So it was really difficult. Sometimes we fight with each other because we were not agree which film.
Yes, we had big fights.
Yes.
May I say here that I was very disappointed, but we had to exclude Shadows and Fog, which was really the favorite film of Carlo, and I think also Woody. But
well, you can see it in this retrospective.
Yes.
And the interviews, I think, is quite an amazing sort of list. You have people who obviously knew Carlo well, who worked with Carlo, who speak to different aspects of different periods of his work, and it seems like you did these interviews over a fairly extended period of time.
5 years, 4 years almost.
4 years,
and
yes.
still we have many other interesting interviews that we couldn't put again in the film. Hopefully we are going to have a TV version so we can have more.
9 hours.
Or even more.
And I must thank everybody who really volunteered and really spontaneously offered themselves to contribute to the film and to speak about Carlo.
Even people that didn't work with Carlo, they somehow they felt in depth with what Carlo taught them. So it was very spontaneous.
And of course, for me it's a big emotion, as I said tonight, to be here, because Carlo was here for so many years, and so many years with Woody, of course, and it was a wonderful, wonderful relationship between them and us also.
So I'd be happy to take a few questions from the audience. I'll just repeat, is there one film that you could pick that would sort of illustrate specifically Carlo's ideas about of needing a point of view as a cinematographer?
The speciality of Carlo is that it's really impossible to find his a certain film, one film that you can say it's the Carlo's example of work. It's really impossible, because with the same director, let's take Antonioni. He made Deserto Rosso, and then immediately after he made Blow Up. There are two films. It's really difficult to understand. The same director of photography has filmed these two films. They're completely from the base. It's very different how he lighted and how he colored these two films. at the same year, he made Armata Brancaleone. I don't know the English title.
Unfortunately, also the
An Italian, and divorce, Italian style divorce. Again, I don't know the English title. One is black and white, and the other one is color film, and they are completely different. It's really amazing. And this was the thing that amazed me when I was a student, that how come one director of photography can film two different films in the one after that one, and they're so it's really his school. What we know about Carlo is that he doesn't have a style, certain style. He was just an artist. He was a poet. Yeah, Blow Up can be really one of his best works. Yes, it's true. We, for example, when we interviewed Ettore Scola, is a great master of cinema, Italian cinema. Scola, he made many masterpieces. And he told me that he lived together in one house, he and Monicelli and Carlo, and other two directors that I don't remember the name. Gillo Pontecorvo. And they wrote together projects, scripts. And then at the end, they decided who direct this. It's something that now, for a young filmmaker, it's impossible. You know, the filmmakers, they have become like rivals. And it's something that we don't have it anymore in our relationships, in our world. It's one of the reasons that I wanted to make this film, to remind, to give this, because Carlo for me has been always like a reference. And I think we are losing these references. So for the younger filmmakers, I wanted to make this film to remind them that how important is the humanity, how important is the relationship in cinema, and how it affects in our works. And for example, why the reason that we choose the title of the film was this, to indicate what's the most important thing when we think about an artist like Carlo Di Palma. It's the humanity, an episode that Adriana tells in the film. So you know, it's as you mentioned, it's really important.
Well, I also wanted to add that in that period, all these filmmakers were struggling for the freedom of their ideas. So they had common political ideas and political objectives which really united them, and they were impassioned about their work, and they were very rigorous. And I hope with this documentary that the young generation may have an inspiration and hope that if you really believe in what you're doing, even though you may have humble origins, you may arrive at, you know, great successes in life, but also spiritual and very appagate. Okay, which all of a sudden I don't know how to speak English anymore. Anyway, I hope it's a sign of hope for the young generation, not to forget what the cinema was, how the cinema was done. And of course, with the new technologies, it's different, but it doesn't matter. However,
we are losing. I think we are losing a lot from this change from the film, celluloid film, to digital film. Our young director of photography, they're very good technically, but from artistic point of view, they need to work more, and we are losing, you know, this great capacity that we had once. So another reason that really we wanted to make this film for young filmmakers was to remind them that, as one of the interviewers says, it's a matter of art, you know, it's not just a technical, because it's a very technical job, but Carlo and the great directors of photography like him, they developed it, they made it like an artistic work, not just a technical.
So you've traveled with the film and presented it at, you know, extensively at film festivals, and it's also had a theatrical release in Italy. Are you finding that people are discovering some of these films through the documentary?
Yes. We've had reactions of many young people in these travels in Tel Aviv, in Sofia, in Moscow. Young people who now wish to screen and discover these films?
Among young students, we had some screenings in the school, film schools. And it seems that there is a discontinuity. Even the students of cinema, they don't know many of these masterpieces. So it's very interesting for us. I'm very happy personally that after the screening, they go and try to find the films and watch them. And it was one of our really goals to make this documentary. Yeah, it was the first film Carlo did as a director of photography. Before that film, he was the cameraman. It was his first. He signed it like a first film of and that's a great film. It's a really beautiful photography and beautiful film. And he made many political films. You know, it was very important. He, as Adriana said, he had a very clear political ideas. And he applied it in all the choices. When he started a film to pick up a film. It was really there is you can follow through his filmography. There is a certain idea in his films.
You already alluded to some of this, but I'm curious about what you had to leave out of a film like this, given like his incredible career, and you mentioned Monicelli as one filmmaker who maybe wasn't as represented. Were there certain filmmakers, certain periods that you felt you couldn't quite get into the film?
A lot. There is a chapter about the Italian comedy. He made many fantastic Italian comedies in 60s and 70s. Unfortunately, we couldn't even mention the titles. Very, very beautiful films with Monica Vitti. They made like 20 films, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, with Monica Vitti, they made about 20 films during their long relationship. Then we did not even mention Sidney Lumet. Carlo worked with Sidney Lumet. Carlo worked with also Benigni, one film. And then there were many others who were just like
he made
Gregoretti.
12 films with Woody Allen. We mentioned only 5, so you can understand how difficult it was to.
You could almost, as you were saying earlier, you could make a whole film about his relationship with Woody Allen or his relationship with Antonioni. I think those are like such, incredible collaborations.
Yes, which can educate a lot, because something that I discovered during this project was this relationship that Carlo always created with his directors. He always, with Monicelli, he made like 10 films, with Woody Allen 12 films, with Antonioni 4 films, and many documentaries.
Many documentaries. We never spoke about the documentaries. For instance, he made Brotherhood.
Brotherhood, yeah, a sort of brotherhood. And I think this is another element that influenced his work. Yeah. He was not just a director of photography. He comes, he shoots the film, and he goes. No, he kept working with the director to discover what's his ideas and try to realize it with the photography.
Interesting to hear a little bit about the films that he directed, which those aren't easy. I mean, I've never seen them. I don't think they're that easy to.
Teresa the Thief was released here.
Okay.
Yes, with great success, of course, many years ago. The others, one has disappeared in some studios, in one of the studios, and the other one is available. They're circulating. Anyway, we have many anecdotes that we never, is not in the documentary about Kubrick when he was shooting. Kubrick was shooting his film, and Carlo Antonioni was shooting Blow Up in the same studio at Pinewood, and the cinematographer of Kubrick went to see Carlo. Kubrick said, "Why? We have all the lights and everything, and here the set of Blow Up has nothing, no lights, anything. How would you shoot?" And they waited for Carlo to finish, and then asked him to use his lamps, special lamps.
He was very inventive. He invented something that is called come si chiama? Pinza. It's a way to attack the lighting, which is very different from the traditional one. He invented it, so he used it in Antonioni's film. Then he collaborated with Kubrick, and they used those pinzas to lighting the Kubrick's film. And there are many episodes like this.
So you mentioned Blow Up as the first of the film of his films that you saw. Do you have a favorite film, both of you?
Blow Up for me, it's the best one.
Adriana?
No, for me it's very difficult. I love so many of them that I cannot really make a choice.
Well, I think one thing this film does is really, I think it makes you want to see his work, more of it. So I'm really glad that we have the opportunity here with a retrospective. Red Desert is showing in half an hour, if anybody wants to stick around for that. After watching this film, all I want to do is like watch that and Hannah and her Sisters and again. So thank you both for coming to present the film tonight.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you, really,
Thank
with
you
all
very
my
much.
heart. This is a very special event for us. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.